Good morning. I'm Lora Martinez Mora, a secretary lawyer at the Permanent Bureau of the Hague Conference on Private International Law. It is an honor for me to participate in this forum on intercountry adoption in Korea. In this presentation, I will speak about three main points. The first one will be a brief introduction to the 93 Hague Convention on the protection of children and cooperation in respect of intercountry adoption. I will then speak about the situation of Korea regarding this convention. And finally, I will put some issues for your consideration during this forum. Let's start by the first point. What are the aims of this convention? This convention aims at establishing safeguards in order to ensure that intercountry adoption are done in the best interest of the child. These safeguards are there to protect children from the abduction, sale, and trafficking for adoption and any other abuses. Let's have a look at some of these safeguards. For example, the principle of subsidiarity of intercountry adoption. This means that it is very important to support birth families in order that they can keep and raise their children themselves. If regrettably this is not possible, then we should try to find a solution within the family or within the community. If this is not possible, then we will try to find a solution which is a family one in Korea and, if possible, permanent. If this is not possible, then we may turn to intercountry adoption. That's why we say that intercountry adoption is subsidiarity to other measures. Another safeguard of the Convention is that adoption decisions should be always made by competent authorities and not just private bodies. It is also very important to declare the child adoptable before an adoption takes place. And this includes the free and informed consent of all persons, bodies, and authorities who may give consent. For example, in many cases, birth mothers. It is also very important to ensure that prospective adoptive parents are declared eligible and suitable to adopt. The Convention also includes some general obligations, for example, no improper financial gain, or the importance of preserving the information about the child and providing later on access to origins if the adoptee wants so. This Convention also established a system of cooperation between states, but also among authorities and bodies in the same state. If the adoption is done according to all the safeguards and procedures of the Convention, then it may be automatically recognized in all states party to the Convention. As of today, 103 states parties. This, of course, has a big legal advantage for everybody, as it provides legal security, certainty, and continuity of the status of the child, and it is very important. Let's have a look now at the second point. What is the situation of Korea regarding this convention? As you all well know, Korea is a country with a long tradition on intercountry adoption. It participated in the negotiation of this convention. And on the 24th of May 2013, it signed the convention. By signing the convention, Korea expressed its intention to become party to this convention. However, we have to look for the ratification. This second step is indispensable in order to become party to the convention. After signature, ratification requires the convention to be approved through the appropriate national procedures. It is the state consent to be legally bound by the convention. Thus, Korea should proceed to ratify the convention, but at the same time it should ensure that legislation and procedures are approved and in line with the convention. But this should also be done in a timely manner. Finally, please allow me to put some points for your consideration during this forum. The first one is that one may question why developed countries need intercountry adoptions. It is true that in some countries, for example in the UK or the US, there is a large number of adoptions, but these are domestic adoptions. Is there really a need to have intercountry adoption? Maybe one question that you may wish to discuss. Another important point is registration of birth, because having a birth certificate is key in order to have a legal adoption. Therefore, we should ensure that all children in Korea are registered immediately after birth and that there is a connection between the documents issued at the hospital and at the birth registry. In other words, registration should not be just on a voluntary basis, but it should be done immediately after birth. Another point that's very important is how to ensure the principle of subsidiarity that I spoke at the beginning. How best to protect families to keep their children. It is really important to have a child protection and a system and a social system that can ensure that families, especially unwed mothers or single mothers, are supported through a good child protection system in order that they can keep their children. In many cases, women, if they are having children, they will like to keep them, but their possibility sometimes is difficult because they don't have the support. But if this support is provided, many of them will choose to keep their children. It is also very important to establish a clear procedure for the declaration of adoptability of children, including the authority in charge of this declaration. Another thing that must be done is to have a clear procedure for matching, including an authority which should be responsible for this matching. As well, as I mentioned before, there should be no improper financial gain. Therefore, there should be a clear distinction between possible cost of an intercountry adoption and any other thing that may be related, for example, contributions, donation, developmental aid. These should be completely separated from any adoption cost. It is also very important to provide the authorities with the necessary powers and resources to implement the legal framework which has been established. Therefore, they can do their work. This includes as well that the different authorities and bodies ensure that their staff has the necessary knowledge, experience, and education to guarantee the process. It is also very important that these people, this staff, can be trained and remain for a certain period of time in their positions to put in practice the skills and to share them, if needed, with new staff. It is also very important to enhance the cooperation between the different actors in the child protection system and between those handling intercountry adoptions and adoption procedures at the domestic level. Therefore, I think I have enlightened some of the points that may be discussed, but it is clear that it's very important that Korea proceeds to the ratification of this convention after ensuring that the legislation and procedures are in place and in line with the convention. But this should be done in a timely manner and in order to ensure that all intercountry adoptions are done in the best interest of the child. The best thing is to be party to the 93 Convention, which provides a basic but very important framework in order to ensure that adoption, if needed, is done with all the best interests of the child. I finally wanted to thank you for your attention. Thank you very much and good afternoon.